What really started my interest in drag racing was my interest in cars. I've always had a very significant addiction to automobiles since I was quite young, but I was never a drag racer. I really didn't know very much about the sport until about 15 years ago, and I happened to be able to attend a drag race with my younger daughter, who was 8 at the time. A friend of ours told us about junior dragsters, and my daughter got a sense for what that was all about and said that she'd like to do it. We started traveling all around the East Coast, doing the drag racing, creating tons of memories, and it was quite a lot of fun. And then ultimately, as my older daughter started to age out of juniors, we decided to build big cars, and that's where it got completely and totally out of hand after that. And I wanted to do things that people weren't typically doing in the drag racing community. So we were one of the first teams that actually utilized supercharged engines and, more importantly, electronic fuel injection. Really what we did was we focused on building the cars for speed and consistency. Data analytics and data acquisition is very important for what it is that we do. I mean, data really is king. And then we use predictive algorithms because we take all that data, we put it together, and then we try to predict how we're going to perform on the next run down the track, because being able to accurately gauge what we think the car is going to do is the difference between winning and losing the race. A lot of the software that we use has been created by other people, other organizations, but there's a lot of things that we've done to tweak that software, and there's a lot of software that we've built in order to help us do that. So when it comes to competitive information, we've built some of those applications to be able to track that in an easier manner. There's a lot of parallels in how we utilize data in racing to how we use it in business. You know, in business, data is everything, really. And it's the same thing in drag racing. Number one, we utilize the data to chart how we're doing, how we're progressing against the things that we're trying to achieve. And I think that applies both in drag racing as well as in business. We utilize data to identify issues before they happen. I mean, in car racing, things do break, but oftentimes you do get telltale signs of that, but it's always not really obvious. But when you have the data to review and the data to analyze, and you can compare it to prior runs, things that are starting to go wrong, you can start to identify. And in business, we utilize data to optimize how we operate, right? So it may not be getting down the track in 8 seconds, but it is about how do we be more responsive to our customers? How do we deliver more quickly tomorrow than we did today? And then competitive advantage. We have a good hold on the data, and we're really taking a look at the metrics, and we're analyzing the information. That gives us a competitive information on the track, and likewise in business as well. How do we do a better job for our clients? How do we stay a step ahead of what everybody else is doing? And data makes the difference for us to be able to, be ahead of that curve. We really focus on excellence in everything that we do, both in drag racing and in the business. Without the pursuit of excellence, you can pretty much count on not winning the race, or not winning the opportunity, or not being successful in the business. In drag racing, we have 8 seconds to win. And if we don't do everything perfectly in those 8 seconds, we're not going to win. And it's also about the 2 hours of prep too, that's so important. And in business, we have to be well prepared. You get 30 seconds to make an impression with a customer. You have to be prepared with the message that you want to get across to them. You always have to be well prepared in order to be excellent at everything that you do. Having a commitment to excellence means that you really have to practice what you preach. Not only do I try to set a good example at Bongiovanni Racing and MicroStrategies, but all the people within the organization. And it's amazing when you really focus on that, the outcomes that you can get. The one thing certain about technology is it's going to continue to develop year after year. We have to stay ahead of that technology curve to help our customers utilize that technology to drive more competitive advantage for them, more responsiveness to their customers, and growth within their organization. AI really came about as a result of being able to take prior developed technologies and use them in a different manner. And it's really quite interesting what AI is going to do. And we're only scratching the surface in terms of the capabilities and the advantages that artificial intelligence will bring us. One of the things that we've learned in drag racing that is really attributable to what we do at MicroStrategies is consistency. In drag racing, believe it or not, consistency oftentimes is more important than sheer performance because of the type of drag racing that we do. It means a lot to the customer because they can be certain of the outcome that we're going to deliver to them. for any particular project, whether it be managed services or implementation of hardware or a piece of software development. They can see the consistency that we have, the methodologies that we have developed over the many years that we've been in business to provide a level of delivery that they're going to be familiar with.